Well, hey, what is going on? Welcome into Chatterbox Reds post-game show. My name is Nick Kirby, joined by my guy Bryce Spalding as we try to recap a rough one for the Reds. Bryce, you really got the short end of the stick this weekend. Had two shows to fill in for Trace. Shea got a really fun one yesterday, a 13-0 dub, and I'm glad, though, you're on here for the 14-3 loss because we could talk a lot of Reds MILB. What's going on, Bryce?
Yeah, how are you? Definitely a tough one for the old Redlegs today, but hey, win 13-0 one day, lose 14-3 the other. That's baseball.
Yeah, that is baseball. Not a whole lot to recap in this one. Final score was 14-3. Luis Cessa just didn't have it.
Yeah.
14. Have you ever seen a line like this, Bryce? I mean, in some ways, you got to give him some credit for actually lasting long enough to get this kind of line because most guys would never even be able to just, I guess, move. I don't know. 3 innings pitched, 14 hits, 11 earned runs, 3 walks, 0 strikeouts, and he only allowed 1 home run. Um, One of just the most insane lines I've ever seen. Obviously, Luis Cessa is going to be the talking point today. Um, I'll let you start. I mean, 11 hard hit balls today. He just didn't have it. Looked really rough in his first start against the Cubs.
Yeah.
Where are you at with Luis Cessa?
I feel for the guy. I know he wants to be a starting pitcher. He wants to have this opportunity. He got the opportunity. I just don't think it's there for him. I think that he's a guy that is better in those short spurts. He can allow a few hard hit balls to go right at people. He can get a ground ball here or there. I don't know if he's the guy for this team. I think that I would rather give Levi Stout or Chase Anderson or even an Andrew Abbott his next start. I understand the sentiment that he can't be this bad, but he's been this bad 2 straight starts. And I know they're two pretty good offenses. Atlanta, Philadelphia, they're two good offenses, but I just I especially for his psyche. I just today he looked defeated. I don't know if he would even have confidence to go get outs at the moment.
All right, well, we'll jump into Reds MILB talk here in a minute, but you mentioned him. You think, and I lean on you more. You watch these guys a lot more closely than I do. You think either Levi Stout or Andrew Abbott would be ready right now?
I do. I think that both of them have the capabilities to get outs now. I think both of them were college guys that have been through adversity, pitched in big moments. Don't think that would like shake them at all. Obviously, they would be nervous for their debut and so on there, but I think they're both advanced arms. I think Stout would get the first opportunity. He's been in AAA for a little bit, but I don't think Abbott's too far behind. Like I don't think that. I know they said today, Jim Dates talking about how they are going to take their time a little bit with Abbott, but I think that I would go ahead and give that opportunity to Stout. It's kind of past that first deadline that you're looking at for that extra year of control, I believe. So if that's a guy you want to protect, then bring Stout up and let him make that next start. And I mean, at least if he gets blown up, it's a guy that may have a future with this organization one way or the other.
Yeah, and I think you kind of mentioned it, but yeah, Jim Day definitely said on the broadcast, basically shut down any
Yeah.
any Andrew Abbott being here in the next couple weeks. Um, Stout's interesting. I would differ a little bit. I think I'd give Luis Cessa one more start. His next start's going to be against the Pirates. If he looks anything like he looked tonight against the Pirates, then yeah, you need to make a move for the sanity of the team and everything. Um, I think I'm good with giving Cessa one more start. Cessa was pretty good the second half last year.
It was.
Cessa, if you remember last year, Cessa's first like actual start of the year was as an opener for Reaver San Martin, which is just so wild that how flipped those two guys' roles have been 12 months later. But he got absolutely crushed by the Dodgers, and it's just 1 inning of work. So again, I'm willing to give Cessa one more start. But again, I'm if he gets rocked by the Pirates on Friday, I think it would be, then yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, you got to make a move. You got to move on. But It's cool to hear you think that Stout and Abbott are both at least really close to ready. That's really cool to hear. And we'll get into those guys here in a little bit more. The
Yeah.
other big note of the game was Spencer Steer left the game in the ninth inning, down. I don't know if they're down 13-3 or 14-3 at that point. So obviously that's like the worst thing you want to happen in a game like this.
Mhm.
The way he walked off the field, did you get the same vibe? To me, it just felt like it was just a completely precautionary move. Um, I, I don't think there was anything there, but I guess we'll await anxiously because Spencer Steer has just been awesome.
Yeah, he's been great. He's on base 3 more times today. I think that the biggest thing that I saw with him is he was kinda pointing at it, but it looked like it may just pulled on him a little bit. Maybe it's just something he can get some ice and treatment on over the next day or so and maybe have tomorrow off and play on Tuesday, but he's definitely a guy this lineup can't afford to lose at the moment. He's been probably, besides India, the most consistent hitter in the lineup so far this year. So he's a guy that's not platoon either way. He's in the lineup every day. So I think if he does miss extended time, I think that starts bearing the conversation of that old shortstop down in Louisville and see what he's up to. But
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
want that to happen. But I definitely think that it's worth a conversation if Steer does have to miss time.
yeah. That's man. I don't want to think about that. That's weird.
Yeah.
Um, and then a wild move. The Reds were out of players, so Tyler Stevenson, who had the whole day off, has to come into a game down 10 runs to catch. And then they moved, or no, he played first base. And then they, Kirk
Kurt played.
Casale played third base. Just what a game. What a day. One positive that I did want to talk about today, I felt like it's definitely worth mentioning, was Nick Senzel. He had 2 hits.
Mhm.
Both hits were off Aaron Nola, which is one of the best right-handed pitchers in the sport. And Nick Senzel's a guy who hasn't hit right-handed pitching. His only success has really been against left-handed pitching. So that was really good to see. And then he started the game in center field and then actually moved to second base, as he's done several times this year. And he made a really, really great play at second base. That was definitely the biggest positive of the day for me, was Nick Senzel.
No doubt. Yeah. He the first at bat, he put together a really good plate appearance and walked on, I believe, 7 or 8 pitches, and that was a really good sign, and 9-0 game, you very easily could lose your mental capabilities at the plate and just look for the first pitch to hit and try to hit it, but the guys put together a lot of really good at bats, and I thought Senzel was kind of the leader of that pack, and he took 2 really good swings on the double. I think it was like 107, 108, something in that range, which is one of the hardest hit balls of his career, and then hit a 102-mile-an-hour single later in the game in the 6th hole. So, yeah, he looks pretty good. I think jokingly he's in the best shape of his life, but I think he might actually be, and he's playing multiple positions, kind of like we want him to be, and if he can provide anything offensively, he can be a valuable player because he's a really good athlete, really good defender, and a guy you like to have on your team.
All right, my final thoughts on this one. I think worth mentioning. Bullpen today, I did a pretty good job with the crap cards they were dealt. Fernando Cruz and Reaver San Martin each pitched 2 innings. Both gave up 1 run, but in the spots you're in, it's all about length. It's not about even your success. And both guys did pretty good. Cruz struck out 3 batters, so I think
Yeah,
he's looked better. Derek Law threw a scoreless inning, and Jason Vossler got
he didn't
through
get
an inning.
rocked.
Got through an inning, only allowed a run. Hey, Jason Voss's ERA is better than Cessa's right now.
Oh man, that's tough.
Um, any of those guys? Cruz, I feel like he's looked really good of late.
Yeah, I don't love that they keep using him in these games behind the Overtons and Cessas of the world. I think that he could get another high leverage opportunity coming up soon. His split is nasty. I think that he could use that in a lot of different ways there. So hopefully they start kind of implementing him back into the higher leverage, close game type situations because I do think he could be successful there. And Raver, I don't really know they're playing with him. Again, he's kind of been in this mop up duty type role, just come in and face whoever. And I feel like he's faced a lot of right-handed hitters, and that's not his style, not his game. So hopefully they can start working him back into more favorable situations against left-handed hitters, and get him some more chances to succeed there, because I know his confidence probably isn't the highest right now either.
Yeah. All right. Well, fire up any questions that you have in the chat. We'll get to those as we get throughout the show. Wanted to talk about Joey Votto, but I thought I would let you guys, if you hadn't, hear his own words on where he's at before we have a little bit of discussion about Joey.
I was doing great. I am doing great. I'm better than the last day. Every day I'm moving faster, feeling stronger, feeling like I'm getting healthier. So I think I'm doing really, really well. And you know, it's a bummer I'm not back in uniform. But if you know, if you were to ask me a month ago, how do I expect to feel now? I would say, you know, what I'm experiencing right now is pretty good. My swing's not there yet. Some strength and range of motion stuff, but this is totally normal. And again, I feel so much better. I think I'm doing great. You know, relative to the beginning of spring, a month ago, 3 months ago, I think I'm doing excellent. And it was ambitious to attempt to make opening day. It was ambitious to attempt to get back. And in the middle, you know, I didn't perform well in Louisville, and that was entirely a byproduct. I was missing, you know, middle pitches, and that was entirely because of my arm. So, but the very beginning, the difference between the beginning of my rehab and the last day I was there was night and day. So I'm very happy about the progress. Again, I have to make sure that I'm playing well, and then when I come back, I can not look back. And you know, I would have, yeah, it would have been a mistake joining the team just because my swing wasn't ready, my arm wasn't ready in general. Even defensively, I felt it. So again, it's getting better.
All right, that was Joey Votto in his own words. Sounds like to me the most likely scenario is that Votto's going to take a couple days off. I think he has to take 5 days off before he can start another rehab and get that 20 days reset. I wonder if he's going to go somewhere else. I don't know, like the minor league schedules. I don't know if there's someone that plays more closer to home. Is that kind of what you think? He's probably going to go on one more rehab?
Yeah, that's what it kind of sounds like, but the whole situation has just been odd. And obviously, I don't want to question anything with Joey. I think he knows his body better than any of us, but I feel for him. I know he wants to perform well. I know he wants to come back strong. So I'm willing to let him take as much time as he wants, because if he doesn't feel he's going to be able to help the team, then he doesn't need to, because with this being possibly his last season, we don't want a worse version of Votto up in the big league. So I want him to take as much time as he needs. I'm in no rush to get him back. I think they can make do with kind of who they have on the roster right now. But obviously, you just want them to be healthy.
Yeah, I mean, I know he did play pretty well his last couple games, but really at AAA, he really struggled. So I think some extra time isn't going to hurt anything. The Reds, where they're at with what they're trying to accomplish this season, if Joey Votto plays or Joey Votto doesn't play, that doesn't really change any of that. So I would say, you know, let him make sure he can hit the ground running. Yeah, I mean, whenever he wants to come back, I don't really have any issue with any of it. But yeah, definitely want to you know, him to be ready to roll. All right. Let's get into some Reds MILB talk. This is Bryce's specialty, Bryce's wheelhouse. We'll get the clunker out of the way. Well, no, let's start with Louisville. They got suspended in the third inning, but it was 0-0. But good news, Lucas Sims pitched today. through a scoreless inning. Bryce, you got to watch that. What'd you think of Lucas Sims?
He looked great. I think he's looked really good throughout his whole rehab here. He's up to 95 with his fastball, so that's a plus. Back to kind of where he was pre-injury there. Getting swings and misses, his slider and his fastball spinning well. So obviously you want to see it with Sims. You know, he's not a guy that you can just pencil in and say, oh, he's back to 2020 or 2021 Lucas Sims. You want to see it for an extended period of time. But it definitely helps. He's got good stuff. He's fastball slider combos amongst the best in the bullpen, no matter what. So excited to see him back. He did look good today.
I believe he pitched yesterday too. This was back-to-back days.
Yeah, and they normally activate like a day after that. So I think he'll be back probably Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah, that'll be really a welcome sign to have Lucas Sims back. The other notable from this game, Matt McLain hit another rocket, like 109 off the bat. Just what are your thoughts on Matt McLain and this? He's had a weird start to the season. Came out on absolute fire, then went like 0 for 20, and then has picked right back up. Has been on fire the last couple games.
He's a weird cat to follow. You'll look up sometimes and he's 5 for 5 with 5 home runs, but then you look up he's 0 for 5 with 5 strikeouts. But hey, that's the beast of a young player. So, but no, I did not know he had 109 in the tank, but he's done it a couple times. So, he looks awesome. He takes pitches at a high level. He works counts. He does strike out a little bit, but I think if he's going to continue to hit for as much power as he has, you're going to kind of give and take with that. So he's just a ball player. I know that that's an overused term. The Reds had a bunch of ball players on their team, but I'm excited for him. I think he's really starting to take that next step in his progression in his career here.
Me and Trace have talked at length about Matt McLain. I think we're both in agreement that I think you just keep him down for a little bit longer unless there's an injury, which you said we don't think Spencer is probably going to need like an IL stint based on kind of what we saw, but you never know with those kind of things. Are you in that camp, or would you like to see the Reds force him in somewhere?
I don't want to force him. I think they're pretty happy with the progress of Barrero at the moment. I think they're obviously happy with Steer and India. And McLain literally hasn't played anywhere else. He literally has just played shortstop and second base so far. So they obviously view him in the middle of the field right now. So I think if they wanted to get him to the big leagues, he'd be playing left field. He'd be playing center field. He would be mixing in at third base some. So I don't want to bring him up and just play him against left-handed pitching. I don't want to bring him up and give him 10 at bats a week. Like I want him to come up and play every day. Whether that opportunity comes sooner or in July or wherever, kind of once they figure out what the plan is, whether that's with Barrero. Obviously, injuries are going to happen, and McLain's probably the first guy called up if a hitter is injured. So you're just looking for that opportunity for him. He just needs to continue to perform and continue to develop in Triple, and his time will come. I'm not too worried about whether that comes now or in 2 months.
Anyone else at Louisville that you feel is worth mentioning right now?
A couple guys that I think are taking some steps that I was pretty happy about was Ryan Newtoff. He's a reliever, 27-year-old reliever. He's out of Michigan. He was really, really good in double last year in Chattanooga. He's off to a really good start this year. He's flashed some pretty good stuff. He's a guy that I could see potentially being called up out of the bullpen. But besides that, I mean, not particularly. I mean, I think Louisville's like 3-10 or 3-11. Nobody's really standing out too awfully much. But Levi Stouts look good. I think we mentioned him a little bit earlier. I think that he's a guy we could see soon. Reliable Hunter Strickland's down there doing his thing, saving games in the ninth inning. So he's a guy that you could call up eventually if you needed an extra bullpen arm. So I think that they are in desperate need of Christian Encarnacion Strand and Ellie De La Cruz to come back.
Yeah, that'll definitely make that team a lot more exciting to watch, especially with Votto not there either at the moment. All right, Dayton 5-0 losers today. They are 3-6 in the season. Just a ton of injuries right now. Edwin Arroyo, Jay Allen, Chase Petty, all on the IL. Austin Hendrick did get 2 hits today, so that was good to see. And then Tyler
Mhm.
Callahan had a double. Anything with Dayton stand out to you at the moment?
Jose Acuna looked good today. I think he went 4 innings out of relief and had a pretty good little day. I don't. They had a weird kind of mix-ups, lineup mix-up. Uh, Sandridge started the game, and then Acuna came in later. I don't know if he just needed more time or whatever, but I think he went 4 innings and pitched pretty well. Their pitching staff is solid. I like Julian Aguilar a lot. I like Javi Rivera a lot. He had a rough start the other day, but he'll be fine. He's a pretty polished arm. And then, like you said, once Petty's back and Thomas Farr is a guy that I think was kind of projected to take a step. He was going to start in I thought he was going to start in Chattanooga, but he started in Dayton, and he's been really good. So I would expect to see him get a call up here soon. He's an older, experienced arm, and he's looked really good so far.
All right, let's move on to Chattanooga, who won again today, 2-1 winners over Mississippi. In that game, sorry. Oh boy, I got a different setup here today, so we're digging through it. Noelvi Marte 1 for 3 with a walk. That was really, I think, the only. Oh, and then Joe Boyle. Joe Boyle
Yeah,
started
Joe.
today. Joe Boyle looked pretty good. 4 innings, 3 hits, no runs, 2 walks, 9 strikeouts. Let's start with Boyle. What's your thoughts on him?
He's filthy. He looked really good today. Anytime Joe Boyle walks under one person per inning, it's a good day. So he is the definition of effectively wild. He is so fun to watch at times, but he is so frustrating to watch at times. He throws legitimately 100 mile per hour bowling balls, and it is got 2 really good breaking balls to pair with it. If he can, I'm telling you, 30 grade command, and this guy is legitimately in the rotation and making starts for the Reds soon. Like he's got that good of stuff. So, but right now he has like 15 grade command. So the biggest thing for Boyle is just commanding the baseball a little bit better. And today's a good start. He had a little bit of a rough start his first outing. And he just kind of does what he does. He's going to strike out people. He's not going to give up a lot of hits. And he's going to walk people. So I think eventually they have to make a decision on who he is, whether he's a reliever, whether he's a starter. But he's continuing to have success as a starter, so I don't think you mess with it at the moment.
All right, then obviously Noelvi Marte, the top prospect right now with Chattanooga. I look pretty good the last couple days. Not
Mm-hmm.
tearing the cover off the ball by any means, but showing some good signs. What's your thoughts on where he's at?
Yeah, he's putting together better at bats. Early on, he was having some tough luck. He got robbed of a home run, like the second or third game of the season, and then he had a couple balls hard to the warning track. So he's starting to see some hits fall in. He's still taking his walks, still hitting balls hard. So, honestly, Marte is probably the least of my worries amongst the top prospects. It's just a matter of time with him. Like he's going to continue to progress and going to continue to hit and the biggest thing for him is finding a position for one, and then when's he going to get called up, and when's he going to be in Cincinnati? So he's such an advanced hitter. He doesn't swing and miss. Another guy in Double A I'd like to mention is Alan Cerda. He's off to another pretty good start. Still striking out a little bit too much for my liking, but he hits balls hard. He hits for power, walks a lot. He's the guy I really love. Would love to see continue to take steps there. Reese Hines in that same boat. Loud tools, likes to strike out a lot, but is going to hit you 450-foot home runs like he did the other day. So they're really actually a pretty exciting team to watch, obviously, with Phillips, Boyle, and Abbott. I don't think you can really those Double-A hitters aren't having too much fun right now against that rotation.
All right, and then lastly, Daytona, they're in action right now. This game's already got a lot of runs. They are down 8-3. Sal Stewart and Carlos Jorge both have hits. Both guys are off to just tremendous starts. Bryce, I will let you go wherever you want to go with Daytona. I think you could probably spend an hour talking about that team.
I could, and that offense is just sick. I mean, the most pitcher friendly league in all of minor league baseball, probably, and they got like 5 guys with like 1,000 OPS or higher right now. Carlos Jorge's flipping balls out to right center field. He's like 5'9", 160 pounds, hitting balls like 108 miles an hour. Sal Stewart is looking like a stud. I think he's walked double the times he struck out already. He's like a 19-year-old he drafted in the comp pick last year. Cam Collier looks like the best player in the league, and he's 18. He's like the youngest kid in the league. Leo Balcazar is a shortstop that just continues to hit. That I've seen so many people that are saying that he's a potential top 100 guy soon. Same with Jorge. Victor Acosta, acquired in the Brandon Drury trade. He's been on fire. He's a triple machine. It's just like over and over and over again. Hector Rodriguez was acquired in the Naquin deal. He continues to hit well and hit balls hard. I think he had like 5 or 6 balls over 105 miles an hour his first like 6 or 7 games. Just something like big leaguers aren't even doing that at the moment. So it's pretty wild to see that group. Like you kind of felt it whenever like the Stevensons and Indias came up. You didn't really have guys behind those guys, like the reinforcements of the rebuild. Now you have like, okay, your Ellies and your McLeans and your CESs are coming up, and then you have Marte and Arroyo, and then you have Jorge and Balcazar and Collier and Stewart, and like it's just a never-ending cycle of good prospects, and they've never had that in their system, and that's what makes what the Reds are doing right now so exciting. And you could literally check the box score for Daytona every night, and they probably have more walks than hits, or more walks than strikeouts. They probably have 5 extra base hits, and that they probably stole 4 or 5 bases, and that's exactly the type of mentality I think the Reds are trying to shift to a little bit, get away from the high K guy that's going to maybe hit for a little bit more power, but and just kind of they're finding ball players, and they're finding guys that know how to play baseball first, and then they can teach them the other things. They can get them a little stronger. They can get them a little bit more athletic. They can do those things. So I think that's a really exciting part about the future of the organization and the future of the team.
All right, I'm gonna put this comment up here. I'm gonna add on to what you just said. I'm gonna give you a minute to think about this. Rank your top 5 pitching prospects, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about what you just said because I think that is very true. I think that's the most exciting thing. Is it's not just Ellie De La Cruz, Christian Encarnacion, Strand, Noelvi Marte. There's a whole crop of players behind that, and that's what gets me most excited. Is really for the first time and I can never remember with the Reds. It's teams stacked after stacked after stacked all the way through the pipeline. And I hope that the Reds are patient with this. I hope that they don't get upset that maybe it's taking longer to go across the to get across the threshold. I hope they don't, blow up their farm system to make a wild card game or something like that. The Reds need to have this always, even when they're winning. Even if the Reds are in first place in the NL Central, they need to have a locked and loaded farm system, and that's deep all the way throughout. All right, let's do it. Rank them.
Top 5 pitching prospects. This was preseason, and I don't think I'm going to stray from that. I'm pretty confident in my preseason one. So I went Abbott 1. It's looking good. Then I went Petty 2, Phillips 3, Williamson 4, Stout 5. Actually, I'll change 4 and 5. I'll put Stout 4, and then I'll put Joe Boyle 5. And those will be my 5 there.
Okay. All right.
So Abbott, Petty, Phillips, Stout, Boyle.
So Abbott number 1. I like
love
that.
him.
I like that. That's exciting because Abbott's like the one guy that I think is probably the closest to being successful at the big leagues. So
yeah,
I like that a lot. All right, our chat's killing it. Chris telling us from C. Trent Rosecrans, Spencer Steer hurt his knee in the 8th and then landed on it in the 9th and came out. So I don't know. The way he walked off, just to me, I feel like he could have stayed in the game if it was competitive. But I don't know. We'll see. I that would be a absolute gut punch. I don't feel like that's being overselling that. That would be brutal, but that could be Matt McClain, so I guess there'd be a silver lining there. Before we preview the Rays, we got a couple other comments here that I wanted to get to. With so McClain was the hot topic of the chat today, which was cool. Loved everyone talking about that. Some ideas of ways to get them in. I think these are both good ideas from Chris. He would have McClain play second, India to third, Steer to first. So Steer going to first would obviously do that. I would think if the Reds went that route, they would play McClain at third and India at second. I can't see them moving India midseason, but the point of moving Steer to first is valid. And then Chris had another go and just put Barrero in center field, let McClain play short. That would work also. I see what both you guys are saying and appreciate the comments. I think though, I don't think we need to rush it right now. Matt McClain has been an up and down player. I love Matt McClain. I love his future, but I don't think we need to force him to Cincinnati until he's for sure ready. And I also don't mind them just saying, let's see what Spencer Steer looks like playing third base every day. We don't need to move him to first base just to get another prospect in here. Obviously, if an injury happens, that's a different scenario. And I also I like the position flexibility with Burrow playing a little bit of center field, but I also don't know if I want to take him off shortstop most days and let's see what he's got there. So I guess I would differ a little bit from those on that. I like the ideas, I like the creativity, and I like that the Reds have players that this is even a possibility because 2 years ago in 2021, we had players sitting on the bench that couldn't get in the lineup because there was no way to shuffle guys around because everyone could play left field, right field. It was a very poor roster construction. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it really kind of just depends, honestly, now with how Steer's injury is. Like, I think that you could make it work if I think there's really no choice. Like, if Steer's hurt for an extended period of time, you have to call Matt McClain up, and I think you figure out the positioning from there. Whether that's, like you said, if Barrero has to play a little bit more center field, like if Matt McClain has to learn third base on the fly, which I would hate that. It's such a tough position to learn. But yeah, I think that they really need to start moving him around. I think that they're to the point now where they don't really have a choice. Like, they view Ellie as the shortstop. He's in AAA. Like, when he gets here, he's going to play shortstop, and McClain is probably going to play second. But okay, that leaves Jonathan India, who's been tearing it up this year, tore it up in 2021. Like, where is he going to play? Like, you have to start thinking about what your lineup looks like after this year, like what your lineup looks like after tomorrow, because honestly, in the grand scheme of things, tomorrow doesn't really matter for the future of the Reds. So they have to start thinking a little bit more about who they're going to be versus who they are now, if that makes sense. And I don't know how that starts or where that starts.
All right. Any other final thoughts on the minor leagues? Anything else before we talk about the Rays?
No more thoughts on the minor leagues. They've been winning a little bit more, so that's always fun to see. I think winning culture does matter. I know Trace talks about that a lot, and I think that they're starting to establish that a little bit. So it's good to see. I'd like to see some guys get healthy. Like, I think 4 or 5 of our top 10 prospects are hurt at the moment. So would love to see those guys get back on the field and start making plays again.
All right, so tomorrow, I guess the Rays just announced it, so I didn't have it up here on the graphic. Rays announced Jalen Beeks will be starting tomorrow for them. I haven't got a chance to look at him. You know anything about Beeks?
He's not good. Left-handed pitcher. I'm pretty sure Rays fans hate him, and the Rays fans don't hate anybody. I every time I see either Josh Fleming, D3 legend, got a hit off him my freshman year, or Jalen Beeks starts, they lose it. So that's exciting.
Yeah. And it looks like let me see if they sorry, live streaming here. I checked this out and they hadn't announced anyone for the whole series. Now they still have TBD on Tuesday. The Reds have Lodolo, and then of course Weaver, not officially announced, but will be starting on Wednesday. So the Rays 14-2. They started 13-0, but They have lost 2 of 3. They did lose a series in Toronto. Reds will miss Shane McClanahan, so that's a positive for sure. Jeffrey Spring was placed in the IL, so I guess, pitching wise, Reds might have some pretty favorable matchups with Green, Lodolo, and Weaver, who I'm really excited to see what he can do on Wednesday. That Rays team, oh man, Bryce, that lineup, like I click on their box score, every dude's got an OPS over 900. Like, my goodness, that team is just like, they don't have a lot of big names other than Wander Franco, but they've just got so much production up and down.
And their top prospects are starting to perform too. Josh Lowe is a guy that they were kind of waiting on, and he's had a monster start to his year. Isaac Paredes, Yandy Diaz, Brandon Lau, is back and hitting well. Christian Bethancourt, who they acquired from the A's just randomly last year, has got like a 140 WRC plus this year. He hit another bomb today. They're just so deep offensively. Like Luke Raley, he was DFA'd by the Dodgers and like 5 other teams. Got like 4 home runs already. It's just these teams put their guys in good situations to succeed, and good old platoons, by the way. They use platoons just like everybody else, and they're successful. But yeah, they're gonna compete. They're gonna play good baseball. Even the guys they throw out, I think they're throwing Taj Bradley on Tuesday. He's one of their top prospects and looked pretty good in his debut against the Red Sox. He's a right-handed arm. I think Drew Rasmussen will throw Wednesday. He's another pretty good arm they got from the Brewers. He's been really good this year. So it's not going to be easy. I do think they'll have the pitching advantage in 2 out of 3 games. So I'm hopeful that they can squeak the first one and then give themselves a good opportunity to win the series the next 2 days. So the Reds can compete with anybody. I'm seriously not worried about who's coming into town, who they got to go face. Like, they proved that even when they went 1-5 on the road trip, they can compete with anybody.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the Rays. Get to kind of really watch them up close for 3 days. This is a team that is kind of what we hope that a lot of these players in Daytona. That's the kind of mold that the Reds are in, and that's what you hope it turns into here a couple years down the road. And Glasnow's still on the IL, I believe. So yeah, I mean, look, pitching matchups are fairly favorable for the Reds. So I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to seeing Luke Weaver on Wednesday. Any thoughts on Weaver? I know you watched several of his starts with Louisville.
Yeah, he looked good. His stuff was solid. I don't want people to look at Luke Weaver's recent lines, his ERA numbers at least, and think that this is just another guy coming in. I think they do have belief in Weaver and what he can be under DJ. So I'm pretty excited to see him. He's got 4 or 5 pitches that he commands pretty well. He's not going to wow you. He's not going to blow you away. He's not Hunter Green, but he's gonna be competitive for 5 innings, and he's not gonna hopefully not gonna give up 14 hits in 3 innings. So I'm excited to see him. I think he's an upgrade. I think he's gonna kind of make you feel like you have a little bit more of a chance on those 2 out of 5 other days, not Green, Lodolo, Ashcraft days. So
all right, well, very good. Well, Bryce, really appreciate you coming on today. Love all your coverage of Reds minor leagues, and appreciate you helping us out here with Chatterbox Reds. We will be back tomorrow night, right after Reds Rays, probably around 9:30. These games fly by with the pitch clock. So we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great rest of your Sunday. If you're listening in podcast form, a great start to your week on Monday morning. Go Reds.